Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to an episode of That's What She Said. Thank you so much for tuning in this week and investing in yourself. As we do every week, we spill the tea about women empowerment. What does that mean? We talk about it. We talk about the cool things and the rough topics and the heated situations, and then also the outcome that over the mountain, kind of like at the peak. Yes, we're doing this as women. So thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of That's What She Said. I'm really excited about this one too, guys. But before we dive into that, let me remind you of the places that you can tune into past episodes of That's What She Said. I would recommend our YouTube. Look us up on YouTube. Also, anywhere that you're getting your favorite podcast, which should be That's What She Said. You're going to look at Audible, Apple Podcast, and then Spotify. We're also on the internets, on the social media platforms. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're always going live on Facebook at 1:30 on Thursdays. On the radio waves, one of my favorite ways to tune in. It just feels very authentic. 100.5 and 790 WSGW, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. and then Sunday evenings at 6, which I recommend is that nice reset into your week. So I want to talk just briefly before we dive deep into a conversation with an amazing woman and my dear friend. I want to talk about the act of being seen. The act of being seen. What does that mean? And does that change? Does that meaning change? Do we need to be seen? Let's start there. The act of being seen and recognized as a mother, as a daughter, as a spouse, as a life partner, as a friend, as a coworker. We carry all these titles as women, as humans coexisting together. But sometimes, and I know that every single person listening can resonate with this, you don't feel seen. You don't feel seen. So how do we pull ourselves out of that? Honestly, I don't know. But let's recognize the fact that to acknowledge ourselves first, to kind of light that fire within, and then bring in those people that are seeing us for who we are. And I'm pretty sure the rest of that will follow in positive light. With that being said, positive light. Oh, gosh, my guest today is Terricina Jackson. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
I'm so excited to have you in the podcast room today.
We finally got here.
We did it.
Yes,
we did it. Yes. So you are a absolute spark in the community, and thank you for being my friend.
Oh, thank you for being my friend too.
Oh gosh, guys.
Right. Thank you for seeing me.
Oh, well, there we go.
Okay.
Well, here is a first question for you. How might the community see or know you?
I would say, just from being so connected to my community, they see me as a resource. I am someone who is going to find a yes. I am a community mom, just a community asset.
A community asset, a connector.
Yes. Bridging gaps, just sharing information. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And giving access to people who may not have access to that information because either they don't know to look for it or they're not sure how to navigate it once they find it.
That could be a complicated job because then you need to know a lot of things to be a connector.
Yeah. Well, you need to have lived. All right. And have some lived experience, which I love. In this era and time, we are really recognizing lived experience. And so if you're someone who has traveled the journey that I've traveled, you know a few things. You know where to go get some support. And so I've used my own lived experience to be a connector, to be an asset to the community, to share information that was shared with me when I was looking for that same, I don't know, it could have been housing. It could have been mental and emotional support. It could have been, how do I, better educate my kid or fill in the topic. If you're looking for it, I can probably find it.
Do you enjoy being the connector?
I think that I've grown to love the idea of sharing information that gives people their power back. And that for me, at some point, I've grown into it because there are many facets of this in which it did feel heavy because I was still heavy. I was still carrying bags. And the more that I've learned to let go of those bags and grow and mature and develop, I can share that with someone else, especially when I go, oh, I remember being there. I remember carrying that bag. Let me help you put it down. It's just, I love that I've been able to take my lived experiences, no matter what they have been, and find a way to make it a part of my life instead of the push pull of trying to make it all work. Now my life consists of doing what I would naturally do anyway.
So we're talking about referring to your life as a journey.
Mhm.
You're talking about carrying bags and learning to let them go.
Yes.
And if I'm understanding you correctly, you're talking about going from somewhere that was, a hardship, something dark, complicated, and then moving yourself out and then sharing information that brought you out. So if you are comfortable, kind of we unpack what that journey was and where it began.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. So most people know I've become very vulnerable and open and honest about my journey. I wasn't born in Saginaw, but my mom is from Saginaw. My parents were in a domestic violence relationship. And so that's probably all I've known growing up, is some sort of trauma, some sort of instability, mom needing resources. And being aware that these agencies, and especially in adulthood, being aware that while those agencies served some sort of instrumental, I had some sort of impact on my life in such a way that I'm here today. Like my mother experienced drug addiction. She was very functional. So from the outside looking in, people thought that we were doing pretty okay. I was just as book smart and street smart as I am today, as a child, moving around Saginaw. God, I've lived in 12 different houses by the time I was 6. And so I just became so familiar with Saginaw, how it ticks, how it talks, how it was back then, how it is now. Oddly enough, some of the same resources are still there. It may have changed, the parameter may have changed, the requirements may have changed, but a lot of the same stuff is there, and a lot of the same people are here doing that work. So in my journey, like I've always had to reach out for a resource.
Mhm.
I've always had to try to find some support. As I got older in my teenage years going into adulthood, I started to experience those same woes as my mother. I started to use substances and alcohol and people and men.
Why do you think that is?
Well, sometimes people say we become our environment. I learned at some point to use those things to manage. They became coping mechanisms. They became normal to me, where I can remember. There's a blurred line because I can remember pointing it out and saying this isn't correct and being silenced as a child, and then at some point, kind of just going with what was being done around me, and it became a way of life. It took a long time to realize that I had picked up those same habits.
So you were participating in these habits that you saw as a child that you even then as a child knew, hey, this is not normal.
Mm-hmm.
This feels uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I spent a lot of my childhood, even into my teenage years, calling it out, calling it out, calling it out. And I think at some point the rebellion came because I was calling it out and nothing was happening. And so then you start to rebel against the right and the wrong.
Okay, so let's put a pin in this because I definitely want to come back to where we're leaving off.
Mm-hmm.
But if we, and I know we do, we have listeners who are preteens, teens. What advice would you give them if they are the ones seeing this happening around them,
Mm-hmm.
and either one are too scared to call it out, or two want to say something but keep getting shunned? What
Right.
advice would you give them?
Well, I would want them to know that they don't have to wait. A lot of children think, as my experience being a teacher, being a mom, being a child, in these different environments, a lot of children think that they have to wait until they turn 18 to become their own hero, to develop whatever it is they are seeking in life. And I will tell children that they are the superhero that they're seeking. Yeah, right? Sit with that one. The unlikely hero is you. And that came from middle school students who I saw with the ability, same ability I had back then, to do something different with their lives and what they were seeing. But somewhere along the line, I don't know if it was not enough access, or if it's, just having to go back into these dark environments and all the work that it takes to stay in the light, right? Oh,
It takes work.
It takes a lot of work.
So let's pull that pin back out. You're seeing this, you're being told, hey, it's okay. Keep going. Like, mind your own business as a child.
Well, you're getting punished. And I don't know if there's listeners out there. You get punished as a child when you begin to point out the things that appear to be abnormal or inappropriate. Because in my opinion, those adults are, they're coping, right? And they've normalized coping. And so you are like shining this mirror, and how dare you as a child speak when not spoken to is the message.
Yeah. And so you said that you ended up adopting some of these habits too. And it became a coping mechanism to you. What did that look like, and how did we move past that?
That looked like I can remember sneaking my first cigarette at 13, right? I could remember walking into Dom's like at 15 and having the attitude that I was 21, and just going and getting the alcohol and buying it and actually like being served, and then being in nightclubs at 16 and 17 years old and partying and having access to things that 21-year-olds should have access to. My friends were older than me. The guys that I were dating were older than me. So by the time I got 19, 20, 21 years old, in reflection, I was already battling alcoholism, but I didn't understand alcoholism. I didn't really dabble in hardcore drugs. I had marijuana. I can remember friends, because our parents were drug addicts. And so we had access to drug dealers. And so we would go and buy prescription medication, because we wanted to feel the tingle, the numb is what we wanted to feel, but we didn't know what that meant.
What do you think you were numbing?
The pain, the disappointment, the dysfunction, not knowing, and being somehow or another, children become the scapegoat. And so when they begin to act out in these households, their parents tend to, maybe they call the authorities and they say, my child is acting out. Maybe they talk to the school, this kid's getting suspended, my child is acting out, for whatever reasons that the parents come up with. But typically parents don't say, my child is acting out because I'm on drugs. Their parent just died. And in my case, my father had passed away, and my mother was experiencing the beginning phases of drug addiction. So when it was being called out, it was, yeah. So
it wasn't in its completion, right? You're being called out, but what's the root, right? So we're getting to what's the root,
right?
And that this past life, this journey that you're describing, what was some of the baggage that you carried as you're getting older? So now we're here. You said you're 19 and you still didn't realize I'm an alcoholic,
right?
And you're 19 years old.
I'm 19. Yep, I'm 19 years old. I've never experienced AA or NA. My mother didn't experience AA or NA. It was when I turned 21. I had my first child, and I got what I thought was like the best job ever. I started bartending. If anybody out there remembers Decades Downtown, 20 some odd years ago, I started cocktail waitressing. And then I became a bartender, because of course you learn. And so I thought that, I could make money, I could party. And I ended up getting into a car accident after a sexual assault, which led me out to Health Source. And a lady out there called me out. I don't remember her name, but I remember her encouraging me to go to treatment. And I spent 7 days at, I think it was, yeah, it was Dot. Dot was in the Crown Plaza, which is no longer there. And I'm on this floor, and I want to leave after like 5, 6 days in, and I do. And I didn't go home to get my kid. I went to the bar.
What made you want to leave?
I wasn't willing to face myself. It was still my mom's fault. It was still my dad's fault. It was still my family's fault. It was still fill in the blank. It was hard for me to acknowledge that what I was doing was my responsibility, and I needed to take accountability for sobriety.
You breezed right by somebody. You breezed right by saying somebody called me out. I don't remember her name, but she called me out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I ended up, and then I left. So this is what our listeners are hearing. But somebody called you out. Do you look back at that and think that being called out was something harmful, like, oh, I don't want to hear this, or something like this was an act of their job and they just had to tell me, or did they actually care?
There was another time, because I can remember her name, Miss Carol Beverly. If you are listening, she still is a part of that community, and Miss Joanne Gordon, she's passed away most recently, but they called me out too. If I had not been called out, I wouldn't be speaking with you today. They were calling me out from a place of love and care and concern. They saw the potential in me. People have always believed in me more than I've ever believed in myself at those periods in time where I wasn't in my power. Had she not given me what people would consider tough love, I wouldn't have been able to connect, because my mother was already pacifying me through her guilt. She had gotten sober, and I had picked up where she left off. And she was enabling me because she felt so much guilt. Well, enabling me almost killed me. And I had to tell her that. And that was a breaking point for me where I could save my own life. To be honest with my mother, you can't come save me this time. I have to deal with the consequences of my own actions.
So when you're being called out by these two women, then was this conversation with your mother before or after them calling you out?
After. I was arrested after. I didn't learn my lessons, but they planted seeds. I didn't learn my lessons in the moment, but they had planted seeds that could germinate over time, and I could go back and remember the experiences and the things that were told to me, so that when it really was time, it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard.
It wasn't. It was you wanted it.
Mm-hmm. They more often than not, people wanted it for me, and until I wanted it for myself, and I tell people that even today. Until you want it for yourself, you're just talking to a wall. You don't have to have that conversation over and over and over again with people that are dealing with substance, alcoholism, fill in the blank. They know. In the still of the night, when it's you and God, you are very aware of what you need to do and what you aren't doing.
So what was that pivot for you? What was that, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna fix this myself with the resources that have given to me. I'm going to make a difference in my life. What was that aha moment for you?
I can laugh today. It was a journey, though. Facing 4 to 20 years in prison will change your outlook on a few things. I got arrested. I left Saginaw in 2009, and I went to Austin, Texas. And I was a friend out there. I was running for me. And I remember a lady, Miss Barb, told me in NA that wherever you go, there you are.
Mm.
And I had heard it before I left Saginaw, but woo!
Wherever you go,
there you are. There you are. And so I thought that leaving Saginaw, because I blamed Saginaw for all my problems, including my mom. And I got to Austin, and lo and behold, the same things that were happening in Saginaw started happening in Austin. Oh.
Because that's where you were.
Because that's where I was,
oh,
right? And so I spent almost a year thinking that I was getting away with what they would call doctor shopping. So I was just going from one area, one location to another, going to doctor's offices and just getting pain pills. And it's illegal to do that. And, people who have dealt in any sort of illegal activity, we know that eventually you get caught. Eventually you get caught, and that's what happened. We got caught. But I feel like I made the best decision possible in deciding that I wasn't going to lay down and go to prison, that I was going to figure out how to get myself out. And I started to use my education. That's why I'm so adamant on education, because I had a bachelor's degree facing 4 to 20 years in prison. Right? I wasn't stupid, not by far. I had some challenges and some traumas and some bags that I was carrying. And so I started to research my own case. And I figured out how to get myself treatment instead of prison time. And so I ended up going through drug court. I spent 18 months in a drug court program in Austin, Texas. It was hard.
What's a drug court program?
Drug court is when you pretty much are allowed to go to treatment. You see a judge on a weekly basis. You are required to drop, which means a urine sample once a week to make sure that you're not doing any drugs or drinking. You have to go to multiple AA or NA meetings, get those papers signed, turn it back into the judge. If you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you go to jail on the weekends. Well, I didn't want to go to jail on the weekends. And just like today, being a connector, I had met some people and I'd used some resources to get me through
Wow.
the best way that I could. And there were people there, Christiana, that had been there years because they couldn't follow the program. And I'm not saying I followed the program perfectly into a T, but I did figure out how to use my resources to get out of there in 18 months.
It sounds like you dug yourself a hole and then you pulled yourself back out. And when we come back after this break, we're going to come back and talk to Terricina Jackson about what's happening now that we're out of this hole, standing in the light, and how we can help others moving forward. So come on back to That's What She Said after our quick break.
That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning back in to this episode with Terricina Jackson on That's What She Said with me, Christiana Malacara. We were just a quick recap. We're talking about Terricina's journey, and it started out with stealing a cigarette at the age of 13 to acknowledging the fact later in life that when she was 19, she was an alcoholic, getting a whole journey of getting a journey through higher education, and then also a journey through essentially addiction. And that pivoting point, which we just recapped, was going in front of a judge and saying, you could be locked up for up to 20 years. What are you going to do about it? And you took action.
Absolutely. I wasn't ready to give up. I've never been ready to give up. I think that's a part of my superpowers, is that God's not done with you yet, girl.
Yeah. So we talked about superpowers in the first half, and that a lot of times youth, the superpowers already existing in them. And it's a matter of acknowledging it and then letting everybody see what else that is. So off track a little bit here, what do you think your top superpower may be?
Oh God, I guess just being resourceful. Jeez, just being resourceful. Like, there's so much information out there. You don't have to be a master expert at everything, but just a little bit of knowledge in all areas, or someone in all areas. I think it's kind of in my back pocket that people are like, she's going to find it. She's going to get the yes.
You're going to get the yes. You're going to find the yes. Who are superheroes that have these superpowers that you look up to now?
Oh God, I still look up to some of the Jessie Dawkins, the community mothers, Vicky Hill, Joyce Seals, those women who have given their lives to the community, to their children, to their grandchildren, Delicia Pruitt. And I don't have to have, personal relationships with all of these people where they have touched my heart, because they are the women. There was one point in time I couldn't even acknowledge anybody. Nobody's done anything for me. And right, audacity and ego. But here today and knowing that the Christianas, like the work that we do as women in our community, it inspires and influences others to, continue to master themselves as women first, right? And then being, who you have decided to become, in your community.
What was this quote that you said in the first half about when you go somewhere, you are there too?
Oh, wherever you go, there you are.
Wherever you go, there you are.
There you are.
You know what's interesting is we can look at that as a negative connotation, right? Wherever you go, there you are. I'm, like we said, I'm addicted to XYZ, and this is the problem, but I'm going to go somewhere else because the problem doesn't exist there. Let's like quickly kind of just think about that in like the positive light.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about community mothers, women in the community who are nurturing it. And that's kind of their calling. Some of us don't even know we're doing it. I mean, but wherever you are, there you are. But what if you planted these seeds of joy, of giving, of love, of care, getting called out? What if we planted seeds of calling out and just more of us were there?
Right. Someone, because I know it was someone corrected me, so I'm not correcting you. Someone said call in.
Call in.
Call in. Call in. Call in. Like
What
I said, let's reframe that. I'm still, in essence, calling you out, but I'm calling you in because I love you and I care about you, right? And I don't want you to think that I'm judging you because I'm not judging you. I'm wanting you to know that you are that important to me, that I am seeing something that is hurt, harming, and injuring you. And I want to call you in to receive this love, to receive this support, to receive this service, whatever it may be that you need. I want to call you in, and I know that the mothers that I have exchanged time and energy with, they're the ones that I see some change and some growth and some transformation because I didn't go, you ain't doing this right. Right? I didn't call them out. I called them in.
Wow. Have you called in anyone?
I'm working with a few women right now. There's a few women that we've had some difficult conversations. We talk about it all the time in our staff meetings. That I think it's hard for us to call people in when we know, especially in nonprofits, we're providing this service. This person has come time and time again. Nothing has appeared to change. When are we going to be okay with being uncomfortable so we can have this conversation so that this person, we could plant the seed, right? So there are, to answer your question, a few women that, and they're
how does that make you feel though? That you're on the, the giving side of this, because this is definitely, a giving receiving act, right?
Mm-hmm. How do you learned that in AA and NA, they taught us, and I don't subscribe to that life current day, but they taught us in my early 20s that in order to continue to receive this gift of sobriety, we were to give it back to others, right? We were to share this information, share this hope, share this joy. So it's just like ingrained in me to be that person. It's fulfilling. It's fulfilling. It's fulfilling because you know what can happen with that. As soon as it clicks, it turns on for them, man.
You see it.
Man. Oh, all the time. I cry all the time when people tap back into that power and you watch it work in their lives and you watch it work in their kids' lives. And ultimately you see it in the community because that's the goal, is if everyone becomes their best own self, we're going to see that in our everyday lives. We're going to see less crime. We're going to see less poverty. We're going to see less mental and emotional outbursts and crash outs in our community. At least I think so.
I think so too. And that's just an opinion, guys. But it's a really good one. I want to kind of shift a little bit here. Mm-hmm. You are a mother.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 2. Marciano is 25. That's my baby that I took through a lot. And I have Malik. Malik is my baby that he's 9. And we're on this neurodivergent, spicy journey together.
Wow. Yeah. if I had either of them in the room today, what and how do you think they would describe you?
Well, they got two different versions of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so Marciano is still unpacking and unlearning and growing because he went through all of my trauma with me. Where Malik, so Marciano would say that he loves me and he respects me for never giving up and continuously trying and doing better. But he would definitely, he may not say it out loud in the public eye, but he is definitely still healing and recovering from all of the work that I had to do to heal from my childhood traumas.
How does that make you feel? Because we talk about generational trauma, it's almost become so much that we talk about it. It's unfortunately becoming a buzzword, right?
Right.
Like, oh yeah, I did that because I have generational trauma, and then we just brush it off. But it's such a real thing.
Right. Where were we? I think I was online. If anybody follows Stacey Patton, she talks all the time about childhood abuse and neglect. And I had made a comment that, it's a lot of work for a parent to have been abused, become abusive, and then acknowledge it, admit to it, and heal themselves, right? It's not just, oh, you're going to go right back into a relationship with your kid as though nothing happened. But where is there a safe space for those who have been hurt, harmed, and injured and who have caused hurt, harm, and injury to be able to have those conversations so that we can heal?
Wow.
Right. It's a tricky space to be in because, yes, I have been the child in this situation, but I've also been the parent in this situation or in this dynamic. And so there are days where you really got to deal with your unconscious guilt. You really got to discern within yourself. Am I making this decision with my child? Am I communicating? Am I, whatever it is that you're doing, am I doing this out of old wounds and hurt and unconscious guilt?
That's a good tool question to ask yourself.
Right?
Okay.
Or am I moving out of a healed space? And it's work. It's work. It's a lot of work to have your children tell you how they experienced you versus how you would have liked or you thought that you were coming across to your children. Malik would still tell you that I'm a tough mom, right? I am a tough mom. I have learned and unpacked all of the things that society lumps on us to believe that we have to accommodate for both parents in the absence of one. This is my journey of I'm just a mom. That's it. That's it. I don't need to overcompensate for all these other things. Because I am a connector, right, and resourceful, there are all kinds of other community members who can fill in the gaps for me instead of me being overwhelmed, overstimulated, overworked to try to meet all of those needs for my child because I can't.
Overstimulated, overworked, overwhelmed. Those are not qualities of a, air quote, guys, good mother.
Right.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
It's proven it's not going to work.
I've proven it to myself, but I'm sure our listeners have too, because we've all, batted 100, but there are some days I don't bat 100.
Does this shift of moving, we're asking ourselves, like I said, that's a good tool question to ask yourself. Essentially, am I doing this out of love in the present, or am I doing this out of, trauma from the past that is gearing this decision? Those are wonderful questions to ask yourself. Do we always need to ask ourselves these questions?
I mean, I think that as you come to grow and heal and know yourself and continue to you've practiced, right? Then you may not need to ask as often. But you want to check that because we have blind spots that allow us to think we're moving in a certain light and we're not, And so it's good to do what do you call it? A self-check inventory.
I was going to say, I was going to call it a call in.
Yeah, there you go. Call in, call yourself. Ask your children.
Ooh, okay.
How do you think mommy's doing? Because I can think and I have thought, I'm doing better. I've made some progress. Give me some credit. And my oldest boy is like, yeah, no, like it's okay over here, but you're still doing this. And I'm like, am I? And if you're honest with yourself, you have to be able to go, you know what? Yeah, I am. And why am I? What is it that I'm trying to overcompensate for?
I like that. I like that as maybe that third tool, right? Ask your kid. Ask someone who it is affecting.
Yes.
who your lifestyle is affecting
Yes.
directly. I mean, that could be your kid, maybe your spouse.
Correct.
I mean,
Your
a
coworkers.
coworker. Yeah.
Right? Because oftentimes as women, we'll ask our friends.
Oh.
We'll go and talk to them about what's going on in our household. Well, of course, my friends are going to give me all the fluff.
Yeah.
Unless I have friends that I have somewhere we mutually agreed that it's okay for you to call me in. We have that relationship that you can, and I've had friends. I remember a friend. She changed me and Marciano's life plenty of times. And I'm sharing with her my stuff, my relationship. And she goes, well, when is Marciano going to be more important than this relationship?
Oh.
He was like 12 or 13.
Oh, hello.
But again, I had experience with people who loved me calling me out. Did it hurt? Yes, because it was true. It was true.
Did you change anything after she said that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am not in that relationship and left that relationship, but it was what it took for me to go, okay, I've got to do something different here, because if my friend is recognizing this, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy to leave that relationship, but I left that relationship. But if my friend feels this way, my kid feels twice as worse. Twice as worse. But I was doing it because I wanted to prove to myself and to my kid and to my family that I could have a family. Trauma, right?
Yeah.
I was willing to stay to be able to say there's a 2-parent household.
Was it worth it?
No. I almost cursed. No, because we are still dealing with the residue of that. It doesn't just go away because you recognize, hey, this wasn't a great decision, so I'm going to make a different decision. Your kids have been impacted. You have been impacted.
Does it ever go away?
I believe it does if you allow for grace, right? If you allow for this is one of the biggest lessons. I hope that I continue to get it, and the women listening get it, is let your kids share what it was to them, and don't try to fix their view of it. Don't try to change it. Just listen. I spent a long time trying to defend my position as a parent because I was a hurt kid. He just needed to know what happened to me, and then he would understand why I turned out the way that I turned out. I wanted that more for a long time. It was when that flip of, no.
Like, what's really important?
What's really important here? Do you want to be right? Or do you really want to hold on to what you can in this relationship to be able to rebuild and repair it? I want a relationship with my kid more than I want to be right about what happened to me, or prove it to anybody, or even get him to validate it.
So we talked about your older child. Let's talk about your younger child. Because they're experiencing a different mom.
Yes, they are. Yes, he is. Which is difficult in itself, because the eldest child has to see the youngest child get treatment, get nurture, get care, get love that you didn't have inside of you, right? To be able to share with that oldest child. And so there's therapy.
Yes.
Therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my kids are together right now. Right. My oldest son is my youngest son's respiratory provider because he's autistic. He has some needs, some special needs. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. It's not.
Does it need to be?
No, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't need to be perfect. Your kids don't need a perfect parent. They need a present parent. And that has been so big lately. Like, you can't be so overworked that you're not available to these kids. And how do you find the balance? I don't know. I figured out how to create a life for me, a professional life for me that went along with my kids' lives, and it makes me feel good, right? So I don't feel like I abandoned myself in any other way, because I still get to be Terricina, but I get to make money, and I get to go hang out and slide on slides and swing on swings and play video games and
be a connector.
Be a connector.
Is that challenging though? That gap time of realizing, like, I need to be present. I need to have money to live, and I still want to be a good mom.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because there are days where I am just one person, right? I'm always one person, but there are days where I'm literally just one person, and I'm busy, and I got all this stuff to do. And I'm big on finding some kind of tool to help me get through what I got going on. And there was something I saw, and I don't remember where it was, but it was 9 minutes. If you can give those kids 9 minutes of your attention, 9, that is not a long time.
Just one-on-one.
One-on-one, whatever they want to talk about, whatever they want to do, 9 minutes every single day. And so it's just giving him the attention. I don't count 9 minutes, you guys, but that was big for me, is that when you are with him, that is his time.
Wow.
You can't be trying to multitask.
I like that tip. And yeah, that part too. Multitasking is essentially how quickly can we shift between this task to the other? And it doesn't work.
It doesn't. We still try to do it.
As women, we try to do it every day.
Yes. You see, I just went to the dentist before I came to you. I'm glad that it's
radio show.
But what was I going to do? Schedule it for next month?
There we go.
So it was, how do you figure it out? And finding some balance and choosing yourself first as a woman. I think that that's hard for us.
I was just going to get there. So how is it that you're showing up for yourself? What are you doing for you to continue to keep doing all the other things as a connector?
One of the best, I told you tools, one of the best tools I have right now, and it's been that way for about 9 months, is my Wellness with Friends group chat. And we work out together, we pray together, we meditate together. We're not all in the same city, so some of us who are able to go to see Quasi on Sunday go do yoga, or go to the healing room or the healing spa and do yoga. I love yoga, you guys. Those moments, or that hour before the kids wake up, where I can just go sit on my yoga mat and be still and quiet. Those are the times that I get to recharge and get in tune with Terricina. And I like to take vacations too, by myself.
By yourself. Keyword, by yourself.
By yourself.
And these are moments where you're checking in, you're calling yourself in.
Yes.
So that way you can perform and be the best you.
Right.
Outward for everyone.
Absolutely.
So at the end of That's What She Said episodes, we ask a question, right? And we're not just quite there yet, but I do want to ask, what is a piece of advice that you would give to 9-year-old you? Because I know she's listening right now.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going somewhere else with that. One piece of advice I would give her, you're already enough. Especially being neurodivergent, we can layer it on. We're so multifaceted. But way, 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 way back then, when I was just a bookworm, I was enough.
9-year-old you, that's what you would tell her.
You were enough then.
Wow.
There was nothing else you needed to do. Yep. I hope every other 9-year-old girl hears that too.
What is a piece of advice that you would give to a woman of the Great Lakes Bay region?
I would say, and it's probably cliche, but it's so true, in choosing yourself first and not apologizing for it, not explaining why. There are so many times I have to catch myself when I get ready to over-explain to my boss why I have a doctor's appointment. What? Why am I explaining that my health is important to me as a woman? Or, again, multitasking and trying to figure out how to take care of myself after I've taken care of someone else. So I would encourage women as mothers that oftentimes we say, well, I am a mom first. I choose my kids first. Well, that's why you're pretty depleted and burnt out, because you aren't choosing yourself first. And that love is what's going to spill over into your children.
I love that. Choose yourself first. Love yourself first. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Terricina Jackson, and That's What She Said.